Okay, let me grab the link. But we should be live. Live.
Are we live right now?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Red Carpet Show. Hebsy on Sports number 234, starting in a few minutes. Rainy, cold, like miserable.
It's
Friday
awful
morning
out there. Awful.
here in Toronto. Really horrible. Not the kind of day that if you were celebrating a Leaf victory, for example, that you'd be like, hey, it's okay, it's raining. This day kind of suits the day, the mood.
Right.
If you're a Toronto sports fan. So on today's menu, I'll be cutting up Austin Matthews. I'll be cutting up Mitch Marner.
Good.
I'll be cutting up Naomi Osaka and Bianca Andreescu, because I don't want it to be just me picking on guys. We like equality on the show.
Equal opportunity offender.
Actually, there's more than a couple of women that I'm going to criticize, and more than a couple of men. So there you go. And we'll be praising a lot of people as well. We're going to start with my idea of the ideal Leaf lineup for Game 6 tomorrow. Talk about Ron McLean. Talk about all the can you name all the panelists on Hockey Night in Canada? All 14 of them.
I can do the 4 I saw last night. That's about it.
There's 4.
What
were you watching? 7. There's 2 panels.
Oh,
there's Ron's panel and there's David Amber's panel.
Yeah, I don't know David Amber's panel very well.
Excuse me. Sorry about that. Hairball. Allergies. I don't know about you guys, but when I get them, they go right to my throat. Alek Manoah. Got to get into that. Hey, I was wrong. I said leave him down in AAA for a couple more starts so that he can prove himself. Obviously, I had never seen him pitch before. He's ready. So we'll get into that. Boy, what a difference between him and Nate Pearson, right? Like they're both big, huge guys, hard throwing fireballers. This guy comes out of nowhere, pretty much, compared to Nate Pearson, who is like the number 1 prospect every year and got bombed in Buffalo. We'll talk about Gretzky, Wayne, that is, TV commentator, $3 million a year. What do you think?
Yeah,
other baseball stuff as well. They're going to Buffalo now. Buffalo's in Trenton. Toronto's in Buffalo. We might be able to cross the border before they let the Jays come into Toronto. And by the way, if the Leaf game goes 7, is there any possible way Ontario would let anybody into the building for a Game 7 Toronto-Montreal? Is that something to even consider?
No, I don't think that's on the table. I don't think. They should just let you in there. Maybe you and
Game 7 in Ottawa, neutral site. Oh, no, that's right. It's the province of Ontario. That wouldn't work. In Montreal, Game 7 in Montreal. Montreal. Yeah. Leafs are the home team. Tickets only sold to Leaf fans.
See, Hebsy, man, if we had more people here double vaccinated, I think we could have reasonably said double vaxxed can go to the Leaf Game 7.
By the way,
but there's not enough people double vaxxed. Go ahead.
By the way, if I'm fully vaccinated,
right?
Why would I sit in the fully vaccinated section? I'm fully vaccinated. I want to sit in the section where it's partially vaccinated, where people still have to distance. I want to have some room, right? I'm fully, but I'm lying to them. Right? I'm only partially, but I want to be fully vaccinated, going places where the partially vaccinated people are, where they have more room. Because all the fully vaccinated people are going to be like sardines.
Hebsy, before I start recording, could you please retweet the YouTube link?
Oh, gladly. Why don't you tell us what's going on with you?
Well, I had a streak going. I've got out to bike every day in May, and every single day. And then today is the type of day the only type of day, by the way, because I do bike year round. But what I don't like is cold and rainy. That's the only, I don't like cold and rainy. I don't mind cold. I don't mind really cold. And I don't mind rain.
Not a fun drive.
I don't like it because around here, by the way, by the lake, it's about 3 degrees out there. Don't kid yourself.
It's way cooler.
It's way cooler by the lake, as they say. But
way cooler. But I cannot believe the differences sometimes. Sometimes if I'm up in Markham or Richmond Hill or whatever, and it's hot.
Yes.
I get back downtown or back by the lake. It's a huge difference. I'm amazed at the difference in temperature sometimes. When it's scorching,
huge difference.
It is.
Huge difference.
I just down by the water. It's beautiful.
But a day like today, when it's we're late May, but now it's 3 degrees and rainy, that's precisely the recipe for me to skip a day of biking. But I kind of like the idea. I was going to run the table here, do every day in May. But here we are, May 28th, and as we speak, I don't plan to get out there. So anyway, there's a useless
Cal Ripken. We'll give you a day off.
Iron Man streak is ending today. Yeah,
I know that's important. I was also reading about all the ultra marathoners who died on that running up that mountain, like 21 of them.
Oh my
and
gosh.
now that community is rethinking, their mantra, I guess. Like just keep going till you drop dead. So, okay, I get it. I get it. Ultra, the word ultra, I get it.
Right.
But come on.
You ready to start the show, big guy?
Not yet. I didn't give everybody else the rest of the menu. Get them to stick around. And by the way, folks, thanks for joining us live for the red carpet. You're going to be an integral part of the show because we expect to hear from you. And Mike's got all the comments there. I don't bother with stuff like that.
I'm watching it. I can say hi. Good morning.
Mike's got it.
Daniel, Mike, Steve,
comments,
Dr.
questions,
Haji.
opinions, ideas. Let us know. Feed us some of your thoughts. And then we can use that to let the podcast listeners know, how we're framing the show, what people are thinking, right? Vox populi.
Let me speak to those people just really briefly. Is that sometimes like I might get a basketball take when we're in the hockey section. And so it's easier for me if you like when we're talking basketball, then hit me with the basketball. That's just a little easier if you could do that, because otherwise I have to take a note to come back to that thing that was 2,000 comments ago. And it was like, okay, so if you got a tennis comment and we're talking about Matthews and Marner, maybe just hold on to the tennis comment until we talk about Andreescu and all that stuff. All right. So you let me know, Hebsy, and I'll count you down.
I have to clear out my throat first from the allergies. So
I hear because my wife suffers from allergies, and I hear this pollen season is particularly bad. She's been suffering quite a bit. I don't have any of this, and it's like I'm like, I'm feeling great, and she's like just hammered by this. So
that's because you bike every day. No, if you've got it, it's terrible.
Right.
And certain days are way worse than others. I mean, I'm fortunate that I don't get it in the eyes with the sneezing, because that would just wreck me. Having the throat problem. Well, when you talk,
but you're a broadcaster, so it kind of does.
I'm a broadcaster. That's right, Mike. So when you say go, I will. I'll begin the podcast.
Bill King told me you're the Howard Stern of sports commentary.
Oh, that's lovely.
So that's a high compliment. Yeah, and you're the Howard Stern of sports commentary.
Do you know that if it wasn't for Howard Stern, I would have had a mental breakdown at one particular point. He rescued me. In all honesty.
Wow.
I was so wound up over things and in such bad shape, and listening to his show on a drive home, it was about an hour and 45-minute drive on a daily basis, was the most soothing, rehabilitating, keep your mind off of whatever it is.
So I must ask, is this during his satellite radio era when you could listen on the ride home?
Yeah, I believe so.
Because he's a morning show.
Although there was a time where he was on in Buffalo. His show, they put it on on a Buffalo station, WBUF. I think.
Yes.
And you'd hear 2 hours of it, and then after that, there was another guy from Rochester who was on, and they would simulcast his show. But he was dying of cancer and was doing a show from the Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in New York. It was bizarre. It was wild radio. But these guys, and the people that they had on, their lives became part of my life. Like I was interested in their lives and what they were doing and who they were talking to and their fears and stuff like that. It was wonderful. And lately I've been listening to Mark Maron, and he has the same effect on me. Because he's got problems.
Yeah.
My problems compared to his problems are nothing. And in some weird way, it just makes me feel better. So I can do this show for you guys today. So let's go.
Okay. And obviously when you, after your intro and you asked me how I'm doing, I'm going to shout out some of the good people who are saying good morning to us.
Oh yeah, do it, man. Do it.
Okay, let's do this.
For sure. Love those people.
All right, Hebsy man, here, let me set up. Okay. Hebsy man, I'm recording in 5, 4, 3.
The following podcast is brought to you by Crosswinds Golf and Country Club in Burlington. Now, I had the pleasure of playing the golf course the other day, and let me tell you, it was glorious. What a feeling. Oh, what a feeling. What a rush. Nestled between Rattlesnake Point and Mount Nemo on the Niagara Escarpment, Crosswinds offers $1 million views, fabulous golf, the nicest people, really, excellent customer service, and a great place to have your next event when things open up fully and completely. Thank you, Tragic DM. Go to crosswindsgolf.com. Book your tee time right there. Get out and enjoy yourself. You deserve it. Really. It's the best thing for your physical and mental health. Hope to see you at Crosswinds soon, and make sure you tell them that Hebsy sent you. Now, Mike, let's begin the podcast. Live from Toronto, it's Hebsy on Sports, episode number 234. Hi there. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Mark Hebsy, your host, along with Toronto Mike on a busy Friday morning. And it looks like my prediction of Leafs in 6 will come true. I was a little worried last night that the Leafs would win it and it would be 5, and then you'd be giving me a hard time. But now it's going to be 6 tomorrow in Montreal in front of fans. 2,500 in a place that holds like 21,000, I think, is the capacity in Montreal. All right? But you know what's going to, but they're going to sound like 25,000 fans. Of course they are, and the Leafs are going to win. Now, Matthews and Marner, I'm going to get into these two because they deserve it. They're making the big bucks. They got to step it up. So I'll have a few things to say about those two guys who are going to lead the Leafs to victory tomorrow night, plus some critical commentary surrounding the television broadcasts themselves. Whatever happened to Hockey Night in Canada? Whatever happened to controversy? Whatever happened to debate?
Sandpaper.
Yeah. And come on, some like biting commentary, like back and forth stuff.
Yeah,
Satellite hot stove, even the Cherry McLean battles over certain issues were, compelling. I'm not getting into that now. It's vanilla. What's going on? Speaking of vanilla, Wayne Gretzky is going to be an analyst, but maybe he won't be vanilla. Maybe he won't be as bad as people think. The man does have a sense of humor. The man can tell stories. He is the great Gretzky. I don't think they're going to set him up to fail. I just don't. Alek Manoah. Superstar of the future? Maybe. But I think his mother really is going to be the superstar. I mean, this woman is fantastic. Okay? Hey, Alek, your mom was on TV. Like, I had the over-under at 11.5 per inning. They must have shown her 25 times. She was great. She was a superstar. And the Sun did pretty well, too, against the Bronx Bombers as the Jays split. We got NBA playoffs. We got golf. Naomi Osaka refuses to do media at the French Open. She says, I'll pay the fine. I just don't want to answer stupid questions, and I'm not going to talk to anyone who will negatively affect my mental health. Really? Playing Serena won't affect your mental health, but answering questions to reporters will? Really? We'll get into that. Also, Bianca Andreescu, is she hurt today? What day is it? Flip a coin. She withdraws from one tournament from injury. She's entered in the French Open. Like at the same time. Like admits that she withdrew from the quarterfinal because she wants to be ready for the French Open. Why enter the tournament in the first place? All right, don't get me started. But let's get started with the story of Toronto Mike and his experience with the Lawnmower 4.0. All
right.
Mike, 85% of partners prefer a man that is well-groomed below the border. Does your lovely wife fall into that 85% category?
I should put her on the second mic over here. Let's get her.
No, Monica, listen. I mean,
I will tell you this.
Can she talk some sports?
A little bit. She watched a little bit last night with James and I.
Right.
I will say that my balls have thanked me. Feels good. I bike every day, so that feels better on the seat. Basically, this Lawnmower 4.0. I just want to say, like, as an appliance, it's pretty awesome. Like, it's even got that light. Like, you
right.
It's got this awesome little light.
You can
thing.
see where you're going. Yeah.
So, like, just strictly as a this is, I don't unit, and when I say unit, I mean the appliance.
Oh, Mike,
itself.
you can say the word for crying out loud. You can say balls. Okay?
Yeah,
That's
but I'm
what
talking
they are.
about
balls.
I'm talking about this
unit,
the actual
the
unit.
Shape of it.
Like the actual unit itself is actually pretty awesome. Like so like as a piece of hardware goes, the Lawnmower 4.0 is pretty spectacular. So yeah, I've used it. My balls have thanked me. Things feel very good. The box, my teenage daughter thought the box was amazing, and she was like jealous of the box. So and
jealous of the box.
Yeah, she said the box was like the whole. I guess that's a big deal now to the
All right.
Well, she's not millennial. She's younger.
So with that testimonial,
like, yeah,
folks,
go ahead.
Here's a chance to help the podcast out. All right, really, it's a great product. I use it as well, and I have been, grooming south of the border for many, many years. And if you're not, or you know someone who isn't, well, you got to get them this. or get it for yourself. And you got a chance to help me out too. Do me the favor. Go to manscaped.com. All right. Check out the Lawnmower 4.0. Check out their other great products, and you get 20% off your order and free shipping if you use the promo code HEBSY on checkout.
And also,
HEBSY.
So Hebsy, HEBSY, use that to support the show. And I just want to say, like, some simple things that are amazing, like the fact it's waterproof, so you can like do this in the shower, which is awesome. The whole charging mechanism, like the wireless charging and how long it holds a charge, like as a piece of hardware goes, as an appliance goes, this is pretty awesome stuff. So.
All right. Let's do a shout out to Mike Lynch, who on our last podcast, when we first announced it, was like the first one in. He was the first one to use the promo code Hebsy to get 20% off. He sent me a message. You know, I'm in, and like, you know, I think he sent a copy of like the receipt or something like that. Like, here, I'm the first one, Hebsy. I got my 20% off. So that's great. So listen, it's a great Father's Day gift. 20% off if you use the promo code Hebsy and free shipping as well at manscaped.com.
So let us know if you do the same, and we'll shout you out. We love to hear all this. This is great support. I just want to quickly shout out some people on your YouTube page, Hebsy.
It doesn't have to be quickly.
Okay, well, Dan.
I want the pace of the show to be, it doesn't, this rush
All right, I'll
thing,
do it very
Mike.
slowly. You got to get
on. When you go for a bike ride, are you in a hurry?
No, but I like to go hard. Go big or go home. So
okay, let's go hard then.
Daniel Finkler. Good morning to Daniel Finkler. Good morning to Mike Kerr. Good morning to Steve Green. Dr. Hockey, can't wait to hear us talk about the Sportsnet panel because it's putting him to sleep. Moose Grumpy, good morning, Moose Grumpy. Jim Rogers, I almost said Jim Richards. Jim Rogers.
I bet you Jim Richards watches.
Probably. Well, he might be sleeping right now. Doesn't he do the all-nighter? Maybe he's coming home.
Or he's still up.
Maybe. So Jim Rogers also can't wait to talk about the Sportsnet intermission. He says it's brutal. Jim Boko wants us to go live after every Leaf game. I would consider going live after every Leaf win. I don't want to go live. I didn't want to go live last night.
It's you. What about me?
Well,
don't I count?
Can you go live without me? Okay. Dan Jeffrey says good morning, and Gordon Enright says good morning, and hello to everybody watching live.
Thanks, you guys. Appreciate it. Keep watching, and thanks for that. You know, just the fact that that they've mentioned that they want me to talk about the Sportsnet panel. We might have to move it up on the show because it was a big topic of conversation in my house yesterday.
Well, I also hope you'll address the Ron McLean controversy, if you don't mind. Sure, I'd love to hear your take on that.
All right. But let's get into really the big event of last night, and that would be, and it doesn't matter what the sport is. You know this. If your best players aren't performing to the level of which they're being compensated for, or where the statistics bear it out, your chances of winning are pretty slim. So how are the Maple Leafs leading the Montreal Canadiens in the series 3-2 when Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner, the highest paid and highest scoring players in almost the entire NHL, are doing nothing? If I told you that with John Tavares out and Nick Foligno out and Austin Matthews doing nothing and Mitch Marner doing nothing, that this team would be leading the Habs 3-2, you'd say, no way. How could that be? It's not possible. If I told you that Montreal's defense had 0 points, none, 0, yet they're still down 3-2, you'd say, what's going on? So it's about time that Mr. Matthews and Mr. Marner get their shit together just in time for Game 6 to make my prediction come true and shut the Montreal fans up once and for all. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if it comes back to Toronto for Game 7, anything can happen. And the more you don't want to talk about the ghosts of the past, the more those ghosts will rise up like Lazarus from the ashes. I'm telling you, you do not want a Game 7 in front of no fans in Toronto with Carey Price between the pipes. You saw what he did last night when he had to. The big say. I know the Leafs came back from 3 down. I know. I was there. But man, you got to get production out of your best players. And by the way, Mike and listeners, tell me if I'm out of my mind. Jack Campbell didn't play his best game? Fine. Would you rather have arrested, sharp Jack Campbell in net in a clincher, a chance to eliminate the opponent, Or would you rather have a maybe slightly tired Jack Campbell in net for a sixth game, and maybe they lose that, and now, oh shit, you're going back for game 7 and he's tired. So my suggestion is start Freddie Andersen in Montreal. Give him the job. Let Jack Campbell rest. If Freddie loses that game, you come right back with a rested Jack Campbell for game 7. He's rested, he's sharp, he's ready. But if he plays tomorrow and they lose, and you have to go back to him for game 7, the guy, he could be a puddle of sweat. He could be a bundle of nerves. He's not used to playing this many games in a short period of time in the playoffs. It's his first playoff. Am I nuts to think that Freddie Andersen, roll the dice? You can afford to lose in Montreal,
Hebsy,
but have your best goalie at his best for game 7.
Interesting conversation, except if Sheldon Keefe actually did that, I think we'd all go haywire, because I don't think you change horses.
Not if they win. Not if Matthews and Marner play their best and Freddie plays a decent game and they beat him 5-3.
Okay, so Freddie Andersen plays game 6, Leafs win,
right,
and then Andersen's got game 1 in round 2.
Sure. If he plays well, absolutely.
Now,
you got to go with your hot goalie, okay? Campbell was hot for 3 games. They won 3 games in a row. Campbell was not hot last night. He wasn't. And so if there's any doubt in his mind, especially with the fans chanting Campbell or whatever they're going to do, and he's not used to this. Now you're in the playoffs with a crowd there, and he lets in a bad goal. Montreal wins. Now what do you do for game 7? Mike, you're coming back to game 7. You're going to put Campbell back in goal? You have to, don't you?
Of course, yes.
What do you mean, of course?
Well, no. You play.
Let's say he plays like shit. Let's say he gets yanked for Freddie Andersen. Then what do you do in game 7?
Okay, well, then that's a conversation. But at this point, as we speak now, after that overtime loss last night,
just saying,
which Campbell, how could he give up that 2-0 rush? Come on.
Just saying, you've got 2 chances to eliminate Montreal. Do you want to do it with your best goalie, fresh and ready to go?
Okay, so I feel, as a fan watching on TV, I'm feeling far more confident and comfortable with Jack Campbell between the pipes. Okay. I think I'd go apeshit if I heard he was changing it up and Andersen was starting game 6. I think I'd go apeshit.
And what if he gets beat?
We'll cross that bridge when we find it. I guess we're gonna see what happens in game 6, but if he gets hammered in game,
you better hope that they win it in game 6. I do, because if it's a game 7 and you've got a weary Jack Campbell playing his 7th game in whatever it is, 11 nights, having not gone through this before, big pressure, because you're gonna blow a 3-1 series lead.
I can't
at home with no fans there, with Jack Campbell playing his 7th straight game against the great Carey Price, who, by the way, is totally in the heads of Marner and Matthews. Totally in their heads. Never seen them hesitate so much.
He's not in Nylander's head.
Oh, sure, he isn't, eh?
Well,
he is
all I know is
is.
Nylander, every time he's on the freaking ice, there seems to be a scoring opportunity to follow.
I think
and several have actually gone.
The 4 goals in 4 games was lovely and all that, but boy,
he looked good last night.
He did look good, but
had a couple of apples.
Price looked better.
Okay, so even
Jake Muzzin looked better than any.
That's right.
Toronto. I mean, come on.
The first ever 2-goal playoff game, by the way.
And that giveaway by Galchenyuk, ask any Habs fan. He did it many times while he was with Montreal. That's why they got rid of him. Okay, he's a hero one night and he's a goat the next. I mean, that not only was that a horrible pass in overtime, it was a horrible pinch and everything about it.
Right.
But for a 2-man breakaway?
Right.
I mean, I thought that Mark Messier's pass to Theron Fleury in overtime in that Edmonton-Calgary series, I thought that was bad. Clear-cut breakaway, Fleury scores, does the dance.
Right.
But this was a blind pass for a 2-man breakaway. And you got Kelly Rudy for crying outside. Well, if I'm Campbell, I go this. Oh, come on. Anyway, we'll get into that.
I will say the Leafs.
I'm just telling you.
I think that's a terrible idea to change up your goalie at this point. I think Campbell for sure.
I'm just telling you right now that if it comes to a game 7, and I got a weary Jack Campbell against Carey Price, I'll go with Carey Price anytime.
Yeah, sure, but Carey Price better than Jack Campbell. I don't think there's any argument there. But the team in front of these goaltenders, Leafs are far superior. So you've already addressed the fact. Okay, but he won't play game 6. they'll take him. I think Dermott or whatever, he's coming out game 6. But I will just say that you've addressed the big problem, which is that when Marner's on the ice, I'm wishing he was Nylander. What's that about? Like that's a playoff thing. I mean, Marner and Matthews need to step up and finish this in 6. So we don't have
Hyman has been the best player on that line. He gets all the chances.
Right.
He can't beat Carey Price.
No, he's got hands
is to barely touch you saw the goal that he scored, right? So I mean, but every chance that he got, he's had breakaways, nothing. He's not going to beat Carey Price. I'm just going to tell you this, not in the conventional way, a tip puck or whatever. Marner is afraid to shoot at him. He's hesitated more than anyone I've seen. I don't know what's going on there.
Right.
And Matthews, as big a guy as he is, is flopping all over he's all over the place there. And I don't know how many touches he had last night, Mike, but it wasn't many.
Agreed. No, Matthews and Marner
and
need
they're getting
to,
beaten up in their own zone. Every time they come out of their own zone, they're getting hit. Corey Perry is hitting guys. Okay, that guy's a menace to the Leafs.
Whew. It's funny how things change. Because we were down 3-0, and then I felt very confident going in that third period, which is strange. We were down by 2 goals. I think it was 3-1.
Oh, I knew that.
I said to James, I said,
capable of it. I knew that.
I said, we're coming back, and it just started happening. And then going into OT, I'm like, okay, let's finish it now. We make our predictions. Who's going to get the winner? And then 2-0, and very quickly that thing ends. It's funny how that changes. Instead of us right now, I'd be wearing my Leaf jersey. We'd have our chests out or whatever. And now you're making goalie changes out of desperation. Like this is all changed.
This isn't, no. This isn't out of desperation. I believe that a fresh Freddy Andersen who wants to prove himself, who's been in the playoffs before, okay? Has as good a shot of winning game 6 as a fresh Jack Campbell does in game 7. Not a weary Jack Campbell, who's now coming back going, oh, shit, we were up 3-1. It's now 3-3. Go.
Hebsy, you said yourself, anything can happen in a game 7. We've seen this movie before. We got to finish this in 6, which means you got to put Campbell between the pipes.
Carey Price is getting better while the Leaf goaltending isn't getting better. I'm just telling you that if I had my druthers and you told me, do I want Jack Campbell in game 7 tired, weary? Or do I want Jack Campbell fresh if there's a game 7? I'll roll the dice, go with Freddy Andersen.
Okay, because John, go ahead.
What?
Oh, John Marshall live in the chat just points out that Andersen has never won a clutch playoff game.
Well, it's about time because neither is Jack Campbell. Because neither is Jack Campbell. And Carey Price has won many.
Even Denis Dubois, who I bet you is a Habs fan, I can tell by the name.
He's from North Bay.
Is he? Denis Dubois? Oh, gosh, I had him in Quebec City there.
No.
That's okay. It's okay, right? Campbell, he says, is fine. Freddie hasn't won a series in the playoffs in the last few years. And then Gordon Enright and everybody's chiming in and saying, do not change the goalie at this point. They're kind of mad at you here.
Okay.
But we can't. I will say.
I'm saying it wouldn't hurt you. It would also give John Tavares and Nick Foligno an extra couple of days if they need them for game 7. And in game 7, you pull out all the stops.
Well, nobody wants a game 7.
Come on, let's face it. Would a game 7 not be fantastic?
For Sportsnet,
but
maybe not for my heart.
Mike, hang on. You could do in game 7, Ontario will allow it. You can have outdoor gatherings. You can pack Maple Leafs. You won't be able to go inside, but there will be outdoor activities available. The cops aren't going to break people up.
For game 7?
Let's have a game 7. Yeah, put Freddy Andersen in tomorrow. What the hell? Come on. All right.
Okay, let's talk about this Sportsnet panel. I see Gene just chimed in. He says it's terrible. What's your take on it?
No. What do you people? I want to hear what you guys think. Go ahead. What do you think? You've been watching, Mike.
Okay, what it has become is okay. I'll be very honest. It's boring.
Be brutally honest.
No, it's boring. It's boring here. It's boring for many of the reasons you said off the top. There's no sandpaper anymore. Like it's some well-spoken hockey smart people.
No controversy.
Just there's no.
Nobody taking shots at the NHL. Nobody taking shots at the referees. Nobody going back and forth when it comes to the John Tavares injury. Who was right? Who was wrong? All that. None of it.
So I'll say
nobody
this.
Taking sides.
I'll say this. Don Cherry is problematic for a variety of obvious reasons, and but if that game 6 was happening 10 years ago, let's say, I can tell you after that first period, we'd all be in front of that TV to hear what Don has to say. He'll break down that and other events in the playoffs, and it would be something like, I would call it something. Ready for this word? I would say It would be interesting. You know what I like, Hebsy? I like interesting.
Yeah.
Don't bore me.
Tell me what you really think, even if it's hopefully if it's brutally honest, and be as enthusiastic either way. Like enthusiastically you are for this, or enthusiastically you are against this.
Be interesting.
But don't give me vanilla.
Right.
And please, and I've never met the woman before, but Jennifer Botterill adds nothing to the broadcast. Not because she's a woman, because she's dull. And she's telling me something I don't know. 3 times she used a Nick Suzuki highlight where he tips the puck out of midair that's headed towards a Leaf player who's going to tap it in. She shows it so I'm thinking, and you see that it's so formulaic, Mike. Ron McLean does his thing, and then Kelly, Jack Campbell. And then Kelly goes on about Jack Campbell. Fine, he shows a highlight. Okay, that's good. That's interesting, right? Kevin Bieksa.
And he might be their best guy, by the way. I think Bieksa might be the most entertaining guy.
I learned stuff from Kevin Bieksa. I learn it. But also the way he approaches things is, yeah, I'm a former player, and I don't mind telling you this is what goes on, and here's the whatever. But also he's got a sense of humor.
Right.
He's not so serious, right?
Now,
and
Botterill,
the X's and O's. Jennifer Botterill is X's and O's,
yes.
and she's not telling me anything I don't know. She says something like, and this is what speed will do for you. Yeah, no kidding. But the worst part of it is, Mike,
yes,
they're showing me highlights of something I just saw. And they're telling me things that the commentators either told me or I figured it out for myself because I know my hockey. But what they haven't told me is how they really feel about that guy's performance or the lack of hitting, or this is going to be a problem, or what you said was wrong, or I disagree. Stuff like that. That's what a hockey fan wants to hear.
The intermissions have become,
we're not getting it.
The intermissions have become the time you take your break from the television. So I watch the game. I'm there for every minute of the game, every Leaf playoff game so far. I've caught every minute, but I've caught so little. I watched a little last night with my boy, but very little intermission because it's so sleepy and predictable and safe and civil.
Predictable. And
again, as a guy who's, I create some content, and I think my enemy is boring. Just be interesting. Be interesting.
They're not. The other thing is there's just way too many elements. I mean, to me, the top people on that panel are Bieksa and Elliot Friedman. And Elliot Friedman is so underused because they have 2 different panels. One, at least last night, was Ron McLean, Jennifer Botterill, Kevin Bieksa, Kelly Rudy. Mm-hmm. And then what happens is once they've done their thing as the main panel, Ron says, David Amber. David says, hi, I'm here with Anthony Stewart and Elliot Friedman. And Anthony does his thing. And by the way, Anthony Stewart is much improved. Much improved because he's himself. He's not trying to be someone else. He's not trying to come up with the cool cliche. He's being himself, man, and he's good.
The tarp's off,
right?
Buddy.
He's much improved. And so, that's 7. So that's 7 people right there that I'm panel of 4, and now Amber with Anthony Stewart and Elliot. And everybody gets 45 seconds. Boom, 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 boom. And then maybe it's back to Ron and some pre-produced feature, or because there's no player interviews. There's none of that stuff.
Right.
But there's also no counterpoint. There's no back and forth. There's no, Ron and Don. Brian Burke, as bad as I thought he was, give me somebody with some sandpaper.
I know.
Give me Doug McLean. Give me Nick Kyprios. Give me somebody that's not afraid to, like that. But
where's Glenn Healy when you need him? Yeah, where's Glenn Healy
when
you need him?
Where was Cassie Campbell last night? Where's Jeff Merrick? Where's Sean McKenzie? Chris Johnston is on, but he's not on. Kyle, see, so there's just way too many people, whereas it used to be Bob Cole, Harry Neal, Ron McLean, Don Cherry, Scott Oak, or Scott Russell rinkside.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Right. Hey,
second period intermission, Satellite Hot Stove, Al Strachan, Farber, Eric Tahachik, John Davidson. Bang, bang, back and forth. Let's see what's going on. What do you think of that? What do you think? Now, vanilla.
Right. I know, absolutely. And I mean, Brian Gerstein says beyond boring. We got Andrew Ward, who says it's too civil. Gene Velitis is saying it's no TNT basketball panel. And that's a great, your gold standard.
Gretzky signs for $3 million a year. And I told you, Mike, a long time ago, before he ever signed, that they know how to do it in the States.
Okay.
Get the big person, get the big name.
The most famous hockey player in the country.
How do you think Los Angeles fell in love with hockey? They got Gretzky. Oh, they liked hockey, but they liked it. Some of them did. We had Marcel Dion for a while, whatever. But when they got Gretzky, boom.
That brought out Mary Hart.
You think Turner is going to hire this guy and then let him hang him out to dry?
Right.
They're going to make it so he's going to be so good, and he's going to be surrounded by so many good people that it can't help but be successful for their coverage of hockey. You're going to spend that kind of money,
right?
Okay, you're going to get the best. And I don't know how great Shaq was, in a panel situation, but they went, we got to get Shaq. I don't know how much work they did behind the scenes before they ever went to air. What kind of chemistry did he have with Kenny, with Chuck, with Ernie? But let me tell you, they are not setting Gretzky up to fail.
Right.
They're going to have Kevin Bieksa or Eddie Olchuk, or they're going to have people around him. And by the way, the fact that they've already hired Leah Hextall, who's going to do games on ESPN, the female element is going to be part of that, and so is the non-white. I believe someone like an Anson Carter, who is excellent, would be perfect for that panel. You got to be able to be loose with Gretzky, but you also got to be able to let him do his thing, which is he's a good storyteller, right? And he's not going to be cutting guys up. He's not going to be saying, well, that guy over there is a jerk. He's not going to do that. But at the same time, he's not going to ignore what he thinks is bad for hockey or what the league isn't doing. You think he's got a problem with the league? They're going to go, Wayne, you can't say anything bad about Gary Bettman in the NHL. Okay? If he wants to say they're a Mickey Mouse organization, he's going to say they're a Mickey Mouse organization.
Right.
If he's going to tear a strip off of somebody like he did at the Olympics that year, he's going to do it.
Yeah, he was hot.
Right? If he's going to say, hey, the heck with all of you, or he's going to get mad at people like Bob. Remember the time that Bob McKenzie, when he was writing for the Star, wrote that Gretzky was playing like he had a piano on his back?
Yes, I do.
And that was great, because Gretzky just responded with two of the greatest games he ever played and never said a word. Just, let his play do the talking. And I think he's going to be just fine.
Good, because I would hate to see the great one fail at this. So I'm hoping he succeeds.
Not gonna fail at it.
By the way, just shout out to John, who this is never, ever going to happen, but he says, bring back Al Strachan and Donald Stewart Cherry. So those are the kind of sandpaper guys that we're used to seeing on Hockey
like
Night
that.
in Canada.
Somebody that's got an opinion and is not afraid.
Well,
to
those guys aren't
that
coming
opinion,
back.
Or take the contrarian position.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be with Ron McLean. It can be with anybody.
Right.
But it can't keep being this, 45 seconds for you. Now 45. What if Jennifer Botterill said something and Kevin Bieksa said, "Oh, hey, wait a second, Jen. Just a minute. You're wrong with that." Right? Or Rudy jumped in by saying, "Hey, listen, Kevin,
Hebsy,
I know you played in the NHL, but
do you think it's the fact they're not in the same room? Do you think that's because, BX is at home or whatever, and it's really difficult. I notice difficult in my podcast, it's easier to do all that overlap back and forth when you're looking each other in the eye in person on the mics, and they're not.
But again, you've had a year and a half to figure something out.
Yeah.
But if it's that scripted because you're that worried that someone's going to step on someone else, or the technology's not there because you can't see the person, that you can't read it, and it's all laid out in front of you. Because it's almost like I know what's going on there because I've been in live television.
Right.
So while one is talking, the director or the producer is in the ear of the others going, all right, Jennifer, you're next. As soon as he finishes, you jump in. Ron, you don't have to jump in here to introduce her. Okay, you jump. And then Kevin, as soon as Jennifer's finished, you jump in and you do your 45 seconds.
Right.
We're going to show this. We're going to go back to Ron. Ron's going to throw it to David Amber.
Mm-hmm.
David's first question is to Anthony. We've got B-roll set up for Anthony. He's going to talk about Marner. And then we're going to go to Elliot, and his pre-roll is Jack Campbell, and he's going to talk about that.
Right.
Then we're going to come back to Ron. He's going to wrap. He's going to throw to Tara Sloan, who's going to talk about this. Then we're going to break.
Right.
All set up.
Right. So it's
so nobody can interrupt. Like Kevin can't jump in and go, wait, I got to say something because I disagree.
Right.
It's too formulaic. Okay.
No, that totally. And I just want to, what was I going to shout out here? But just Chris F. Grave, I want to shout him out. He's here.
Thank you, Chris.
And Paul Hawkyard has joined us, and he says watching intermission is boring.
Well, this isn't boring, okay? And here's the other thing. It used to be, and remember, hockey is the only sport that's got 2 intermissions. Everything else is halftime.
Right.
Or between innings, a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Run to the bathroom. But hockey's got 2 of them. 2.
Yeah, no, totally. But we're used to seeing Don Cherry's Coach's Corner in that first one, so that was always, at least for me, growing up, and well into my adulthood.
Why not do 7 minutes of get 4 people out there?
Yeah,
right. Point, counterpoint, whatever. You, and you, and let's throw it open. Right. Topic number 1, and whatever it is, come up with something that happened in that period or something that's going on. It doesn't have to be a recap of the period that I just saw. Okay. Nothing worse to me. I just watched the game. What are you going to show me?
No.
If you're going to show me, you better show me something that I wouldn't have. I've been following hockey. Show me something I don't know.
Unless there's a hit like that.
Point something out that wasn't on camera that you saw that you think would be interesting and informative.
Unless there's a hit like that Tavares hit, and you want, like, was it intentional or not? Like, that's, let me hear from a player. Did they think that was intentional or not?
But don't give me someone and say, okay, this analyst's role was to watch Matthews and Marner and pick out 2 highlights that would illustrate their poor play. And it's going to be our 3rd slot in our first intermission after this and this. Man, come on.
But Hebsy, part of the problem is, I think, is that we're looking for somebody like you. Like, we're looking for a Hebsy to tell it like it is and be interesting. And you're like Bill King said, the Howard Stern of sports commentary. That's what we're looking for. And those seem like they're precisely the types of personalities that companies like Rogers Sportsnet are shedding and trying to distance from, because part of being interesting and calling it like it is would be like not pissing off, but would be, you could potentially being insensitive to somebody somewhere because you're interesting, and that means saying something. So I feel like they're trying to be more milquetoast and bland by design. Like, vanilla is safe.
Yeah, well, also, I don't think they're getting an awful lot of mail saying, I agree 100% with so-and-so, or I disagree 100% with what so-and-so had to say. Even amongst the analysts. Like, do you think that, I don't know, do you think Anthony Stewart is looking and going, oh, what the hell is Rudy talking about? He's so full of shit. Right? Or Jennifer Botter was looking at Ron McLean saying, what the heck did he just say? Was that a homophobic response?
Oh, can we talk about that now?
Just the look on her face when he said that thing, that if you weren't watching earlier from the earlier intermission and you hadn't seen the picture of Anthony Stewart and Wayne Simmons and Anthony's brother holding a bottle of rum with their shirts off, had you not seen that, and had you not connected that with what Ron was trying to say about Kevin Bieksa, if he didn't have a tarp on, which is a shirt, and if Jennifer Botterill wasn't aware of this conversation in advance, the look on her, and it's just a look. Right. Like, I've seen stuff.
Well, she's trying to figure out what the hell he's talking about. Like,
hang on a second.
Go ahead.
Mike, have you ever looked at a video of yourself and gone, geez, did I really look like that?
I try to avoid video of myself.
Geez, I didn't realize I looked like that. I have. And I'm shocked sometimes by by what it looks like, the reaction. So imagine someone looking at you going, oh my God. So whatever she was thinking, we're reading into it just because of her look. Like, that look could be, what the hell was that homophobic comment? Or it could have been, what? Or it could have been, that's odd, or that's awkward, or maybe that's the way she reacts when she eats a lemon. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
But the look alone, people just freeze frame, screenshot, and then post it on social media. Look at that look.
First of all,
it must have been,
since we're talking about this, if I may, very few people in my circle or that I follow, very, very, very few people actually had a problem with what McLean said. Like, it feels like
I didn't have a problem with it. It was an inside joke.
Like, 5 people took offense.
When you show the reaction of the other panelists, and it makes it seem like they're uncomfortable and it's awkward.
Yeah, she did look
homophobic.
She did look uncomfortable.
It makes it way worse than it should have been.
And I think she was trying to figure out what the hell's wrong. What's the joke? Like, I think it took. This is the kind of joke when you have to explain a joke 5 or 6 times, and maybe it's not a very good joke. Like, I think the problem with McLean is that he loves his puns and he does these impromptu and puns, and sometimes they get like looped in and lost, and then by the time he's done, it's like, what the hell was the joke there? So there was a lot of room for like interpretation on that joke. I saw some people saying, oh, it's an AIDS joke. I mean, come on, what, really? Ron McLean just cracked a fucking AIDS joke on Puckin in Canada?
You've got people that have a lot of followers that are lashing out, and I'm like, and these are, a lot of them are, I think,
shit disturbers.
No, well, in some way, but they're journalists in a lot of ways. I'm like, wait a minute, you're a journalist. Did you check this for context?
Right.
Or did you just strictly take Ron's comment with Jennifer Botterill's reaction and only do that?
And remember,
like, isolate that. Because if you only did that, it's pretty, I mean, that's like a bait and switch. I mean, that's just wrong. You have to look at it from context. And I'm glad I'm not on the airwaves, because I don't want to have to explain every single thing I say, nuance and everything. Yeah. You watched it. You either got it or you didn't. And if you didn't get it, I'm not going to re-explain it to you.
But you'll admit,
to make you feel better, that I'm not a racist, sexist, homophobe, whatever.
Right. You will admit, though, that was such a that joke was so awkward that there was, forget the AIDS. That was ridiculous when I saw people say it was an AIDS joke. That was no chance. But you could make an argument that, there's some homophobia there, because is he suggesting guys with their shirts off are positive? Like, the joke is stupid. No, I
agree.
I have no problem
and
with the joke.
Also, don't show picture of one of your panelists in a compromising position. Just don't show it, okay, man? Like,
you don't think they ran
I
it
don't
by
know
him
if
first?
it was Anthony's idea or the producer.
Yeah, I think they ran it by him.
We need a shot of Anthony, Wayne Simmons, and his brother with their shirts off, and they pixelate out the bottle of rum that Wayne Simmons is holding.
Right.
Which is, look, it's legal. You're allowed to drink. You're allowed to take your shirt off in a house. It's fine. Right. But I'm not sure that's something you want to bring up with your panel, where someone might say down the road, hey, it reminds me of that picture that you guys showed us with your shirts off. Like, come on.
Well, let me just make one final point on this. This is what I also detected, because, I like to analyze, like, where's the controversy, particularly when I don't think there should be one. So in this instance, I believe a lot of this is the Don Cherry fandom, right? So you have a whole whack of people who are still pissed at Ron. They think Ron McLean threw Don Cherry under a bus, right? So they're like,
if I hear that expression, throw him under the bus again, seriously, I'm going to scream.
But they don't feel, there are people, not myself, but there are people out there who feel Ron did not have Don's back. Don got screwed. And they want revenge now. This is their opportunity. Like, look at that. That's homophobia. You should be gone now too, like our boy Don. Right? Yes. So
like, they're vicious.
So the Don Cherry fandom attacked Ron, if you will, as revenge, because finally Ron screwed up. We got him. He's out now too.
Yeah. That's interesting. You've really got a changing of the guard here. Like, Ron's the only one left, right? Like, we don't see, or at least I haven't seen, Scott Oak, Scott Russell,
right?
Harry Neal's, I guess, retired, or he was doing Buffalo Sabres games up until recently. Bob Cole's retired.
I think Elliott's the next guy.
Elliott would be from that. Yeah. So it's a real changeover, and you've added, now, especially with, like you say, Mike, everyone's in their own little box. They're at home. They're in a studio, but somewhere else. It's very, very different, and I doubt it'll ever get back to the way it was. So that's why studio shows are even more important now. And I watch inside the NBA. They got the big four, and they're separated by plastic. They're still separated, 15 feet away from each other. It looks like 10, 15 feet away. If they can pull that off and get them all into a studio, I don't see why they can't do that for Hockey Night in Canada.
Dr. Toronto Mike just wants to remind everybody that in practice, fully vaccinated people are allowed to be inside together. Fully vaccinated people.
There you go. So,
but a lot of us are only one shot in.
Because I think it'll really change things. I mean, I'm not that I don't like, but I'm tired of seeing Kevin Bieksa in his wherever he is. I don't even know where he is. He lives in California, I'm pretty sure, right?
Well, he ain't in the studio, that's for sure. He's got that Pearl Jam book.
No, he's in California.
Him. Yeah,
because his son was he showed a picture of his son at the Hurricanes Nashville game.
Right.
So I'm assuming his son's American and went from it's not difficult to travel within the United States to get from California to Nashville. Anyway, other action. Speaking of Carolina, Nashville, the Hurricanes, the storm surge, although they won it in Tennessee, eliminated the Nashville Predators in overtime last night on a goal by Jacob Slavin. The Canes' 4-3 win saw them take the series in 6 games. Their next opponent, Tampa. Yikes.
Woo.
Tampa, good team. Tonight, Vegas and Minnesota, Game 7 in Lost Wages. The Golden Knights once led the series 3-1. It's now 3-3.
Wow.
Back to Vegas for Game 7. The Wild evening things up. And it's all or nothing tonight in Las Vegas.
Whew.
After that, it's only the Leafs and Habs to settle things, as the winner will get the well-rested Winnipeg Jets. Boston and the Islanders are set to go in their second round matchup, rather. So there's your hockey story there. In baseball, I know I said that they should leave Alek Manoah in the minors for a couple more starts. I know I said it. I wasn't the only one. Leave him down there. There's no urgency. Guess what? There was urgency. And also, they had seen him pitch. I had only looked at the stats and seen like a couple of highlights where they edit together all the strikeouts. You know, when they do that, the guy strikes out 12 and they show every strikeout, you go, wow, he must have been great. You know, they don't show any of the other stuff.
Right.
They cherry pick. Or whatever. They cherry pick, right. So you don't get a sense. You're going, he's mowing down AAA hitters. Well, I got a sense when I saw, first of all, the dude is huge. 6'6" and 260, and he's a man. Right. He's not a boy. He's not Nate Pearson still looks like a boy, even though he's older than Manoah. Nate Pearson's almost 25. He seems like a kid. Where Manoah's like, let's go, give me the ball. There's my mom up there. I have about 40 friends from Miami. Give me the damn ball. Just the way he's tatted up and he just looks mean.
Right.
Right? Unaffected at all. I know it was Yankee Stadium with only a few thousand fans, but still, man. The dude was pitching for West Virginia University a couple of years ago in Morgantown, West Virginia. You ever been there before? West Virginia is not exactly a baseball power.
No, this is a rapid ascent.
A rapid ascent. Meanwhile, the same day, Nate Pearson's getting his ass kicked pitching in AAA as a relief pitcher. Anyway, so Manoah's 23 years old, 6'6", 250. What does he do? He goes in there and he just wipes the Yankees out. 88 pitches, 7 strikeouts, 2 walks, 2 cheesy hits, like a soft line drive and a banjo hit by Andujar. The only 2 hits he allows. And thank you very much. 6 innings, gets the W in a 7-inning game, 2-0 final score. But his mom was clearly the biggest star because the cameras, like right off the bat, and Hazel May did a real nice interview with her in the pregame show, really nice, where you couldn't, any mom or any parent, anybody would go, look at this woman. And here's Alek Manoah saying, like, I saw my mom not eat, not have any money to have a meal just so that my brother and I could be fed. Like, I'm crying here. I love this woman. Fantastic. And they've got shots of her, she's praying and she's screaming and she's laughing and she's giggling and she's hugging everybody and she's high-fiving and she's worrying and generally having a fabulous time as her son is striking out the likes of Aaron Judge, making him look silly. First Major League start, he just made Aaron Judge swing so hard that he fell to his knees. And then the next swing he took, he looked like he was chopping wood. Wow. So do we have high expectations for the kid? Now, unfortunately, we do. Sorry, Alek. You come out and you throw a shutout against the Yankees and make guys look silly. We expect big things. So there you go. That's what you got.
That's like the JP Arancibia debut. Now we expect MVP.
This is different. No, this is different. JP Arancibia, he had a couple of home runs. That's great.
No, it was a big game, I remember. But go ahead.
No, but to project he was going to do that every game, of course not. But to think that, the way he commanded himself, that if he's feeling good and he goes out there, he could end up being your number 2 immediately. You had, Hyunjin Ryu is your number 1.
Right.
Robbie Ray got his ass kicked in the nightcap yesterday. Maybe Manoah's going to be your number. Certainly by the end of the season, he sure looks like he could be your number 1 for crying out loud. Who knows? But man, he's got what it takes. He's got some movement on that. You're going, wait a second. How can a major league hitter not hit a 95-mile-an-hour fastball down the middle? That ball's got some movement. I'm looking and going, that's got a swerve to it. And his slider was working beautifully. And so he's the opposite of Pearson, who can't command a pitch. This kid goes out there and, except for the first batter, DJ LeMahieu, he walked him on 4 pitches, and they were all pretty close to the strike zone. He was just overthrowing a bit. And after that, pounding the strike zone. Did a batter get to second base on him? A base runner? I don't think so. I don't think anyone got to second base. How many times did he go through? He walked 2 guys. But other than that, did he go 3 balls? Not that many counts. He was ahead. Pitched beautifully. Can't wait to see him pitch again. And in the nightcap, like I said, Robbie Ray, worst outing of the year. Weird that way, eh? That he would have his worst outing on the same day that Alek Manoah would have a sensational debut. Anyway, he gave up 5 runs in 4 2/3 as the Yankees won the nightcap 5-3. And tonight, Mr. Ryu goes to the mound for the Jays against Eli Morgan, the scheduled starter for the Yankees in the Bronx. See that play yesterday where Javi Baez of the Cubs hit a ground ball with 2 outs to the third baseman? And then when they threw to first, Baez stopped and ran back towards home plate. Instead of stepping on first, the first baseman for the Pirates, I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
For the third out of the inning, all he's got to do is step on the base. He decides he's going to run back with Baez to try to tag him.
I saw
Meanwhile,
it.
the runner who was on second base with 2 outs is running.
Yeah.
He sees what's going on. He's running. He decides, I'm going to try to run home.
Sure.
And as Baez is being pushed back towards first home down, inexplicably, the runner comes all the way to score. The first baseman tosses to the catcher, goes to tag the runner. The runner is safe at the plate, but not until Baez runs back to first base, which he does, and he finds that there's nobody covering first base.
Right.
The second baseman didn't think this was going to happen. The pitcher not going to cover. So he runs. And now remember, he has to be safe at first base for that run to count.
Right. Yes.
Right? It's the third out of the inning.
Right.
But the out hasn't been recorded. And if he goes all the way back and to home plate or beyond it, he's out for running out of the baseline.
Right.
So he sees what's going on. The runner at the plate is safe, but that run doesn't count until he hauls his ass to first base and is safe at first, which he is because there's nobody covering.
Right.
He's safe.
So let me ask you this, Hebsy.
The run scores.
I watched
There's nobody covering. They throw it away. He runs a second. It was just ridiculous.
Let's say you made that same mental error in your recreational slow pitch game.
Yes.
Your teammates would be pissed at you. Like you'd be hearing it. Like people would tell you that was the dumbest play they've ever seen. All you have to do is run the ball to first base and the inning's over.
Ridiculed.
So is that possibly the worst baseball play you've ever seen?
I would say yes. I would say that the brain cramp of not knowing as a first baseman, not knowing the situation and not knowing that you could just step on the base.
Yeah, like to me, it's like I honestly think if my 7-year-old made that mistake, I mean, I wouldn't tear him a new one or anything. I'm not that kind of father, but we'd have a good heart-to-heart about, you got to know better. You got to be aware. That's a 7-year-old. I can't imagine a Major League Baseball player making that mistake. Like that, to me, I think is the worst baseball play I've ever seen.
But I don't think a 7-year-old would do what Javi Baez did in the first place and then have the wherewithal to run back to first base, which isn't being covered, in order to ensure that he's safe and that the run counts. But other than that, and for all I know, Javi Baez, I can't think of the name of the Pittsburgh first baseman. I should know it because he should live in infamy for that move. But I'm wondering if Javi Baez, as he got to first, went, "Oh, no, man, no way, man. You're not going to tag me." Because he had to come off the bag to take the throw originally. Like he wasn't right on first base. He had to come off the bag and instead of just going back and touching the bag. So Baez might have, persuaded him to come tag him. Maybe got in his head a little and said, "Hey, come on, man. Tag me. Go ahead."
Right.
Thump me one.
Yeah, well, it's a brain fart. It's a brain fart. But you got to know how many outs there are. Like the first baseman has to know how many outs there are in the inning.
I think he knew how many outs. I just don't think he went, maybe just step on the base and end the inning and go into the dugout.
Okay, but a Major League Baseball
I think he
player
got caught up in the cat and mouse thing.
All right.
With Baez going, no, you're not going to tag me. And then he backs up and then he chases him and he keeps going backwards and he goes, "Okay, no, I'm going to touch you. As long as I've come this far, I have to tag you. I'll look silly if I walk back up the first baseline and touch the base." That's
what it was. That's some pride got in the way. He says, "I'm not going to look silly here. I'm going to get this guy." Yeah, insane.
But Mike, I can't tell you how many people sent me the link. Like I had seen it.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you how many people said, "Did you see this? Did you see this?" Yeah. And even this morning, "Did you see this?" And I just love that. Okay. NBA playoffs. Saw the Milwaukee Bucks go 3-0 on Miami with a 113-84 win. Chris Middleton had 22 for the Bucks. Giannis chipped in with 17 points, 17 rebounds. The Lakers took a 2-1 series lead on the Suns. 109-95 win at the Staples Center. Anthony Davis, 34 points. LeBron had 21 and 9 assists. And Denver took a 2-1 series lead on Portland with a 120-115 win. Nikola Jokic had 36 points and 11 boards for the Nuggets. Tonight, the Knicks visit the Hawks in Atlanta, and that series is tied at 1-1. The Nets look to go up 3-0 on the Celtics in Boston, and the Mavericks look to go up 3-0 on the Clippers in Dallas. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, what do you think of that?
Kawhi and the Clippers went down.
They're not a good team. Like,
they're not.
It's not.
They weren't last year either.
Right. Like I would be so shocked if the Clippers won that series.
Could we get Kawhi back?
He's not coming back.
You know what? Yeah, it wouldn't be. You're right.
The core also, that core, we were supposed to run it back. He should have come back and we could run it back, but now the core's gone.
Kawhi. With him. If he can't bring the Clippers back against the Mavs.
You know what? Kawhi wanted to go home. Let's remember that. He went home. I don't think he really cares about all these details of where his better chance to win a championship. He wanted to go home. But he should have chose the Lakers. He could have played with AD and LeBron.
And speaking of boring, he's boring.
Yeah,
Let's say that right now.
He's
Kawhi's boring.
Yeah.
Okay, Kawhi, you were a great player. You were boring.
But he speaks on the court, and he gave us what a wonderful year we'll never forget.
2 more NBA series I have to mention. The Sixers and Washington. The Sixers lead the Wizards 2-0. They play Saturday at Washington. And the Utah Jazz visit Memphis with that series tied 1-1. That is tomorrow as well. That's the NBA story. In golf, Mike Weir shot a 2-under par 70. He's tied for third at the Senior PGA Championship in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The play has been suspended there due to inclement weather. Could be anything. Could be tornadoes, lightning storms, heavy rain, torrential rain.
Could be what we have.
If you've ever been to Oklahoma before, wait 15 minutes for the weather to change there. Dust storms. John Steinbeck, The Grapes of Wrath.
Oh, wonderful.
Whenever I think of Oklahoma, I think of that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, what's classic?
On the regular tour, it's the Charles Schwab event at the Colonial Club in Fort Worth, Texas. Sergio Garcia and Jordan Spieth tied for the first round lead after 8-under par 63s. BC's Adam Hadwin tied for 5th after 67. Corey Connors is 41st. Mackenzie Hughes is 69th. Michael Gligich from Burlington is 116th. Did I say Burlington? Golf? I was at Crosswinds the other day, Mike. First time.
How was it?
It was worth the wait. Good. Beautiful. And I shot a very smooth 85. And
that's good.
I could not take my eyes off the scenery. And remember, it's still like, it's not even like, I know it's spring, but things are still kind of blooming.
Yep.
Whether it's been late this year or just the fact that I haven't been out to golf courses because we're not allowed, I haven't noticed the sort of change in color and the leaves coming on the trees. Those bare branches are gone. And even though the weather was gorgeous, warm, it's still May. It's still like everyone's just started planting.
Right.
So it's really beautiful there. You got to check it out. From Mount Nemo to Rattlesnake Point, anywhere there along the Niagara Escarpment, it's just gorgeous. And the course is in tremendous shape. They did a great job maintaining it. People are wonderful there. Check it out. Crosswindsgolf.com. Book your tee time now. Tell them Hebsy sent you. You're going to have a good time.
And other than today, other than this moment we're speaking now, it's been an amazing golf since they opened it up. The weather's been tremendous. So crosswindsgolf.com. Book your tee time. Do it.
Do it, man. We're going to play. I'm playing again on Sunday there.
Oh.
And then the following week as well. You can only book so much in advance. I'd like to book my entire summer. Wouldn't that be great?
You remember, we're doing this because of the remote situation. You could be live from Crosswinds doing your Hebsy on Sports.
We could do it someday.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Okay. Naomi Osaka, one of the best tennis players in the world, but also a leader when it comes to social justice and awareness of the issues that surround the world today. Very strong young lady in many ways. But she's done something here that I don't like her anymore now. Because she says she's going to skip. She made this announcement in advance of the French Open, which begins this weekend. She is going to skip any and all news conferences at the French Open, saying the press often show no care for an athlete's mental health. Quote, I'm just not going to subject myself to people who doubt me, end quote. So she faces up to a $20,000 fine, which is nothing, and says she hopes the money, because she's going to pay the fine, she wants it to go to a mental health charity. So I'm not quite sure I understand this. You've got the mental capacity to take on the best tennis players in the world, the highest level of competition in a most stressful environment, championship tennis. Yet you don't have the mental wherewithal or capacity to field questions from reporters who doubt your ability. Mike, what's your take on this?
I'll be honest, I don't focus on these press briefings or whatever.
But you know what I'm talking
I know
about.
Exactly, but I'm curious.
Players have to come out.
Are the tennis
they have
journalists
to come out to talk to the press?
Are the tennis journalists particularly harsh? I can't imagine that.
Well, what would you consider particularly
what
harsh?
Does this mean?
You've just finished a match.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Your obligation is, and always has been, after you go to the locker room and however much time takes place, you come into the press room, sit down at a podium, and this has been tennis for years. Every other sport, you could go into the locker room, you get a one-on-one interview after the game, but only in tennis for years and years and years. You're not allowed to go into the locker room.
I guess my thoughts initially on this is that this is extremely delicate because in 2021 we've evolved to a point where we don't question people's character because of mental health decisions. Like I hear what you're saying. Like just go answer some damn questions. Like you're a public figure. You're an athlete. Like go answer these questions. That's easy to say, but
Mike.
But this is a young
professionalism.
Woman. I know, but a young woman.
Have sponsors.
We can't
depend on this,
right?
Because you're wearing their Rolex watch or their
but that's
Yonex
her problem
or whatever.
That's her problem.
No, but the thing is, she could have said, "Look, I don't have the mental capacity to perform in this tournament and all the things that go with it." This is your chosen profession. Look, when Serena Williams had a meltdown.
Yep.
Okay. Did she avoid the press afterwards? No. It took her, I don't know, 15 minutes or whatever time it takes from the time that you have to come back. And she answered every single question. She met her obligations with the media. The media reports to the fans. And by refusing to answer stupid questions and saying it's bad for your mental health is a complete cop-out. And I'll tell you this, Mike, now, there is no way that Novak Djokovic or Roger Federer or Rafael Nadal or even Nick Kyrgios or any of these guys would say in advance of any tournament, I'm not answering any questions because it's bad for my mental health. Because the response would be, if it's so bad for your mental health, how can you put yourself in a stressful situation by going center court against Rafael Nadal? That's stress.
Hebsy,
that's pressure on your mental health.
Is it possible that the women athletes are treated differently by the press than the male athletes?
How so?
I still remember, I think it was Bouchard, was it made a semifinal or something? I can't remember, made a final or something. I can't remember now, but she was asked about I can't remember, about a boyfriend or crush or Justin Bieber or something.
That Justin Bieber, that was on, that was Courtside. That was the originating network.
Okay.
Courtside Live.
I remember at the time, and I think you and I even talked about it, but I remember at the time that that was a question that was never going to be asked of a male tennis player. In the same situation. I just wonder maybe, and again, also a woman of color, I will just say we can't put ourselves in her mind and we cannot appreciate her mental health struggles and how the questions and answers affect that. So I don't think we can sit here and judge her for this. I would say she's compensated.
So you're okay with it then? You're fine.
I don't feel I'm in a position to judge it.
She's using the excuse of maintaining her mental health at the same time that she's going to go right after going out on the court
thing.
With the chance of getting your ass kicked in.
Okay, but maybe
how mentally look, Mike, I know enough about mental health. I've lived with it.
Yeah.
Okay? I lived with people that suffer from it. I understand that there are certain things you cannot do. Right? You just you
it's
can't.
Not a one size fits all, right? It's not a one size fits all.
And I can tell you this for a fact, Mike.
Go ahead.
If you've got what it takes to go out on center court and battle the best in the world in a highly stressful, you have to be mentally tough. You can't come 15 minutes later and say, I don't want to answer these questions because it's going to affect my mental health. You can't.
Hebsy, man. It's possible that she can do that without the noise around it. Maybe she needs to cancel that noise in order to actually focus and compete on the court.
Sorry, Mike. If that's the case, don't enter the tournament. Because part of playing championship tennis is you've got to talk to people afterwards to tell them how you feel. Even if you say, I'm not going to answer that question because that bothers me and I prefer not to, but I will talk about tennis. At least have the courtesy to say, give me your questions. If I don't want to answer it, I'm not going to answer it. Because that's normally what happens. Like any athlete that's being, or coach that's being interviewed has the right to not answer the question, has the right to say, that's it, I'm leaving, John Tortorella, whatever. But I've yet to hear anyone, and I can tell you right now, if any man did this, if any man said, okay, white man, black man, I don't care, any man said, I'm not going to do any interviews at the French Open because it affects my mental health negatively. They would be castigated. They would be hung up to dry. What are you talking about?
A lot of people are hanging up.
What it takes to get out there.
You're hanging her up to dry right now.
Questions?
Like right now, you're attacking her. You're attacking her character right now. And all I am to say is,
I'm not attacking her character. I'm attacking her professionalism. She's not being a professional.
And I'm here to say that it's entirely possible, in fact, plausible, that the male tennis players are treated very differently by the press than the female.
You tell me, give me an example. Are you telling me that it's okay to say, hey, so-and-so could lose a few pounds out there. That guy is really struggling. And by the way, they say it looks out of condition. Now, are you telling me you can get away with saying that about a female tennis player? No way, Mike. No way. Could anyone no way could you say, so-and-so looks a little out of shape there. Not even hinting at it. You'd be hung up to dry on social media. You would.
Okay, Gene Velitis
Tell me I'm wrong.
I'm gonna
tell me I'm wrong.
gonna let Gene Velitis tell you wrong.
He looks out of shape. She looks out of shape. Whoa, what are you saying? You saying I'm overweight?
Okay, question for you,
You can't
Hebsy.
talk about someone's appearance.
Question for you from Mr. Velitis here. He says, did you see the interview that caused her to refuse more interviews? Gene says, I did. I don't blame her.
It wasn't an interview. It was part of a press conference where you're listening to a disembodied voice from somewhere on Zoom, right? And you could have easily said, I don't want to answer that question. You could call the reporter out and say, that's a stupid question. But here's the biggest problem, Mike, is she doesn't want to answer questions about the Olympics in Japan. She doesn't want to have to go through all of this. This is a big problem because they feel that since her and Matsuyama, the golfer who just won the Masters, are the biggest stars in Japan, that their opinion matters about whether the Olympic Games should go on or not. This is a huge controversy. This is also, it's not just people saying stuff. This is part of the mental health. This is, tell us what you think. She probably can't win. If she says they should hold them, people are going to be on her case. If she says they should cancel them, people are going to be on her case. So if that's the case, just say, I won't answer any questions about the Japan Olympics, the Tokyo Olympics. I'll only answer questions about the match. Okay.
Yeah, but you're assuming a lot of things here, Hebsy. Like
the other one, Mike, is she going to refuse the interview on court when the match is over, which is the network, which pays a lot of money for that? And what do you say to the fans? Oh, by the way, Naomi is not answering any questions here at the French Open.
Hebsy, do you think any fan cares about these pressers? I'm curious because I'm just reading the comments. I personally don't follow this stuff that closely, but I do know that
point, Mike. It's not the point.
Okay, but KM
listen.
says,
what's happening to journalism?
Are bathroom
what's
time.
happening to journalism? It's going down the tubes. Why? Because people are refusing to answer questions and be accountable.
But is it her right or not? That's my question to you.
She could say, "Look, I'm going to produce. Here's my response. Mm-hmm. You don't even have to answer the question. Ask the questions. I will give you a printed comment. Here's my comments. Right. Here's my statement after the match. Is this really what journalism has come down to? That you're going to allow people to just get away with not being accountable for themselves? All right. And I think that's wrong. And I think it's unprofessional.
And I value your awesome opinion there. But I would just say that if this is her right to not, subject herself to those pressers, then she's well within her right to not do that. And I say, who am I to judge her decision? I'm not in her mindset. I personally am not judging her for it.
She should be fined way more than $20,000 for this. And I'll tell you what,
you're tough.
If I'm another player, and I'm going, well, if she doesn't have to answer questions, I don't have to answer questions.
But that's
and
true.
Pretty soon it's going to be, hey, look, and all the other sports too, and I believe it's an obligation through the Players Association with these other sports, team sports, where you have to. You got to do it. Part of your contract.
Oh, it's in the CBA.
Deal with the player, but there's no
it's
players
in the CBA.
association with the tennis players.
Right. Exactly. Right. So, I mean, if Naomi doesn't want to bother with that bullshit, then good on her, man.
Why do you say it's bullshit?
Well, she thinks it's bullshit, or she would participate.
No, do you think it's bullshit? Do you think
I've never watched a tennis presser in my life?
You should have to answer questions, or do you think that you should be given a pass no matter what?
I love what happens between the lines, so I like to watch what happens on the court. I don't think I've ever given a shit about what people said in a presser. I mean, the only time we pay attention is when they go south and somebody has a temper tantrum or something. So,
well, like I said, Serena Williams had a temper tantrum and still met her obligations, and as painful as it was, and I'm sure it was painful, and I'm sure that there was a lot of stress, and you know, her mental condition was not great. You could see that it wasn't when she had her meltdown, yet she still came out and answered questions like a professional. Now, speaking of which,
yes,
and again, not picking on women specifically, but Bianca Andreescu withdrew from the tournament earlier this week in Strasbourg after winning her match, and advancing to the quarterfinals. She withdrew, citing an abdominal injury. However, she's in the draw for the French Open and is scheduled to play her first-round match on Sunday. She's the number 6 seed. Here's what Bianca had to say the other day after winning her match and then promptly withdrawing. Quote, "I'm super happy with the win today. I will be pulling out of my next match because I did feel a little bit of an ab tear, and I don't want to push it at all for Roland Garros." End quote.
Makes sense to me.
Has suffered a number of injuries and illnesses, Mike, which have been well documented. But in case you've forgotten, let me stir your memory. Because in the last 18 months, she, just retired the other day, withdrew, but also retired injured in the Miami Open final against world number 1 Ash Barty in the final. Also pulled out of the Madrid Open after she announced she had tested positive for COVID-19. There's others where she's pulled out of the match. You know, she played, I think she sat out more than she played. And when she came back, she looked great. And then she got hurt again. Now she's hurt again. Now she didn't want to tear her ab, but she is in the draw for the French Open. Now, some fans think this is also being unprofessional by entering tournaments and then withdrawing. For example, Roger on Twitter says, quote, "Shameful. Get fit and get in condition before signing up to play tournaments." Now,
so is that Roger Federer? Which Roger is that?
That makes sense to me. Shameful. Get fit and in condition before signing up to tournaments. So it also screws up the tournament draw because it's like, oh, she just won, but she withdrew. She won like 6-1, 6-1, but she withdrew, which kind of screws things up because now the quarterfinal is a walkover for her opponent, who doesn't get a match in before the next one. It's also not good for the crowds who might be paid money to see Bianca Andreescu play.
Hebsy, you have to advocate for yourself. Okay, this is it's a tough world out there, and Bianca's got to look out for Bianca. If she felt like she needed to preserve herself for the tournament that matters more to her and to fans, by the way, that's her right. Like I don't have these scathing judgments of these decisions that these women athletes are.
I don't like someone who wins and withdraws.
Tennis is very much a.
I don't like that. Don't like that. You won and
but how do you know what she's feeling?
Then go down in your match, then lose the match, tank the match, and say my knee's hurting or my abs bothering me, and that might be a little more palpable. Anyway, that's my call, Mike. That's what I think.
I know people tune in to hear what you think, and they don't particularly care. I just
don't like that. I just think it's unprofessional, man. If I'm a fan, I'm like, come on.
But how do you know what she's feeling?
I'm invested in you. I watch. I follow. Okay, I want you to do well, but I don't like this bullshit.
But here's my thing. These two athletes that you're criticizing here in tennis here, Naomi and Bianca, who are you to know what they're feeling both mentally and physically? Like
it doesn't matter.
What do you mean?
If you're not up to it, don't enter the tournament.
Because you're suggesting
that's my point.
Okay, but
that's my entire point.
Maybe
this is what you get. You want to play professional high level tennis? This is what you get. Hey, Mike, go read Andre Agassi's book. He hated tennis.
Yeah, because his dad made him hate tennis.
He hated it. Hated it.
Right. His dad threw that silver medal in the garbage.
Hate tennis, take another profession. If the press conferences are driving you crazy, literally, and your mental state is that fragile, get out of the game. Heavy. If your physical state is that fragile, do something else. But don't drag me along. I want to be invested in someone that there's some consistency there. If you're having issues, like most people, get help.
Most of us only care what happens on the court.
Hey, man, listen, if this becomes the most convenient excuse for anybody, I don't want someone asking me a question and not believing in me. Hey, what happened there at 3-6 when you double faulted? You looked like, well, are you doubting me? Is that what's going to happen? You can only ask me good questions. You can't ask me anything that, might affect me. Hey, listen, like I said before, if you're that tough that you can play championship tennis against Serena Williams, right? If you can do that, then you can certainly, answer some questions.
Okay,
really.
You need to answer a question right now, Hebsy. Can we get a very brief Otis update? Like, have you had any visitations?
Have not seen Otis in over a week. Saw him on the saw him walking through the parking lot across the street from me. And I called his name and he looked up for half a second and then just kept walking. He's gone, man. He lives 4
How do you
doors
feel
away.
about that, like in your heart?
I'm fine with it. Had you not mentioned it, I'd be fine. Now I'm tearing up a bit. No, I haven't.
Okay, because Gene wanted the Otis update, so I thought I'd change the channel.
Yeah, Otis, man. Otis is a neighborhood cat. He's not my cat anymore. And if someone says, "Hey, is that your cat?" I just saw it says, "Used to be my cat."
Well, Hebsy, man, next time you see Otis, try a little tenderness.
If I can get near him. I can't even get near the cat. Okay, finally, the fan that dumped popcorn on Washington Wizards guard Russell Westbrook at the end of Wednesday's playoff game against the Philadelphia 76ers will be banned from all events at Wells Fargo Center indefinitely. The Sixers added that the fan will, quote, have his season ticket membership revoked. And Mike, I saw the play.
Yeah.
We're talking about dumping popcorn on a player.
Which you should not do.
Popcorn. Which really, when you think about it, you could take an eye out with one of those loose kernels. Probably the most dangerous thing that a fan could do to anyone is to dump popcorn on them. So I can see how Russell Westbrook would go wild in disrespecting me that way. And I mean, listen, you could dump a beer on me. That wouldn't bother me at all. Okay, it's liquid. Coke on me. You can hit me with a bottle. But popcorn,
you're on fire today.
You could take a fucking eye out with that thing. And so that's why he went wild. So I have to tell you this, Mike, in all honesty, revoking this guy's season tickets and banning him indefinitely from the Wells Fargo Center for any event at all is a pretty harsh, sentence for pouring popcorn. That's what Teoscar Hernandez used to do when a Blue Jay hit a home run. He used to dump, sunflower.
That was consensual, I think.
And those can hurt a lot more than a popcorn in your head.
I know you're having fun with this because it does sound like a funny thing.
I'm not having fun with this.
It's a precedent, right? You can't allow the dumping.
If I dump popcorn on Russell Westbrook's head, should I deserve to be banned for life? Popcorn,
because you can't allow the popcorn dumping because it's practice. It's practice. But the next thing you know, you're throwing a beer can at the.
No. That's my point. The guy wasn't stupid enough to throw a beer can because that would have got him. That would have got him suspended for life.
I think he's actually a listener.
Charged.
The beer can thrower is actually a listener of your program.
Mike, he's so upset. He's dumping popcorn on his head, and so here's Russell Westbrook going. Did somebody just? What's that in my hair?
Come on, man. That butter gets in the eyes and it fucks up your game.
Way too harsh of a punishment.
Yeah, Tyler's right. The Philly fans put batteries in their popcorn. Okay,
right. When you think of outfielders who got hit with batteries or who knows what else, anything that they give out, that's why they don't give out stuff at the arenas before the game anymore because you'll throw it at the players are on the ice.
And no more Catelli bad day. That Catelli bad day would be dangerous today.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, Mike, I'm serious here.
I know
the fans should not have done it.
Right.
But man, it's popcorn. Come on, man. Come on, you got to let him back in the building someday.
Shout out to Allen Iverson.
Okay, that's it. Episode 234 of Hebsy on Sports. Thanks so much for listening.
Woo!
Thanks to Toronto Mike for production and inspiration. Hit him up at Toronto Mike and listen to his excellent podcast. It's really good. He's got some great guests. Also, a big thanks to Crosswinds Golf and Country Club in Burlington for being our sponsor all this time. All 234, well, not all of them because sometimes in the winter, but anyway.
Half of them.
At least. Check out crosswindsgolf.com to book your tee time. And don't forget, Manscaped.com for their Lawnmower 4.0. Me and Mike both love it. You will too. Go to manscaped.com and use the promo code Hebsy, Hebsy, at checkout to get 20% off. And you'll be helping out the small independent podcast compete with the big media conglomerates.
Right.
Okay, like Mike and I don't have a chance against those big Rogers at Bell and those big, but I think we do.
Fuck Rogers, fuck Bell, long live Hebsy.
Thanks. And thank you for listening and for allowing us into your headspace. We know it's important to you. Back with another episode next week. Fingers crossed. Until then, so long for now. This podcast has been produced by TMDS and accelerated by Roam Phone. Roam Phone brings you the most reliable virtual phone service to run your business and protect your home number from unwanted calls. Visit roamphone.ca to get started.
You're fired today, Hebsy. Fire. See, that's interesting. You were interesting today. That's all I ask. Be interesting.
I wasn't interesting before.
But you're too interesting.
I didn't hear anybody else say it. I mean, they just sort of announced the Osaka thing. I said, what?
Well, yeah, we're still on the
I've heard
YouTube
stupid questions at press conference. I get it, but that's part of it, man. You just say no comment or just go, that's a dumb question, but don't refuse to go.
But the poor young woman, we don't know what she's dealing with psychologically, mentally. We don't know. We don't know. So I don't judge what I don't know. That's the bottom line there.
But again, when she's up there serving for the match, what do you think? You think
they're different. You're sort of doing false equation. Like that's that's
tough. Are they really?
It's tough to equate those two things.
But I mean, are they not if you have to do one, you have to do the other to do one. One's part of the other, part of the obligation.
Yeah, but maybe she can't do one with the other. So it's more important she does the one that pays the bills. So you got to do that one and shed the rest.
She says, you know what? I need a half an hour after my match to compose myself before I can come out there. Or how about this? Here's a compromise. I'll provide a statement. Or you need to, I don't want to do the calls live. You need to.
Well, she made her call. She'll pay her fine, and she'll laugh all the way to the bank. Hey, Gene Valais is a very funny man. He says, "Can we ask post-show questions?" He goes, "Hebsy, did you give 110% today?"
I did. I think I did more.
That's the bullshit you get in pressers. I have no time for it. I don't want to see another athlete. An active athlete rarely says anything interesting ever.
Just remember one thing. Even though it's Zoom, it would be the same thing if all the reporters were there in all of these sports. But instead of them being at home doing it, they would be in a room.
So fuck COVID.
You'd hear the disembodied voice. You would see the person up at the podium, right? And it would be the exact same thing, except they would be there. You would hear the same questions. The other thing is, you're not supposed to. They're not designed for you to listen to them live. The press conference is, I'm going to get I just want the clip from the athlete. I don't want my question in there. I only need to extract the clip from the athlete. But since we get to hear now the entire press conference, we go, boy, was that ever done? Who was that voice? Because sometimes they don't even ask a question. They go, in the sixth set, it was 4-3. You were serving at 30 love, and then a squirrel ran across the court. And was that the weirdest? Is that the weirdest thing you've ever? How weird was that? Was it really weird, kind of weird, somewhat weird, not weird at all?
Shout out to KM on YouTube who says, take the shovel away from Hebsy. He's digging deep. So, and this is Andrew Ward says.
Well, you don't like the digging deep, eh? Is that it? You'd rather have the superfluous stuff that you get from other media, right?
I'm here to tell you, as a consumer, I want you to be interesting. Even if I disagree with you, just be fucking interesting. Don't say stupid shit like anything, like hate stuff, which you don't do. Be interesting. That's all I ask. This is the post-recording presser. That was our longest episode in a long time, and this part is great too. And Andrew Ward likes my Catelli bat thing, and Brian Gerstein, big tennis fan, as you know, he'd rather hear the tennis analysts than the pressers anyway. So everybody but you is okay with Osaki's decision.
No, not everybody. It would be just the people who happen to chime in today.
Right.
There are many people.
The podcast listeners are the ones who are going to agree with you. Many people who
agree that Naomi Osaka is being unprofessional,
Naomi,
selfish, right, and is utilizing her mental health issues.
What about my mental health?
To light at the same time as being as mentally tough as anybody in the world by taking on the best tennis player.
Not the same thing. Okay. By the way, you're the
It
only
is
man.
the same
You're
thing.
the only
it's your
guy.
mental state.
You're the only.
Look, if she wasn't
Why do you
mentally
think mental
prepared to-
state is
Mike,
like this one
if she
thing
wasn't
that
mentally
applies to
pre- no,
everything?
no,
like
Mike,
that's not how
trust
it
me.
works.
If she wasn't mentally prepared to go out on the court and perform at a high level, you would notice it in her play. Because between points, okay, you still have to do certain things, be able to actually physically do things.
I found someone who agrees
Which
with you.
if you're not mentally prepared to do that, you can't do it.
Paul
right?
Hockyard agrees with you, Hebsy.
Thank you, Paul.
But I think he's also a Habs fan, so
That's okay.
Is it?
I was a Habs fan once too. As long as
when
Leafs
you
were
lived in
eliminated,
Montreal,
I'm a Habs fan.
I can't
If the
imagine
Leafs
you
are done,
growing
I'm
up
a
in
Habs
Toronto. How do you root for the Habs just because you
I
live
worked
there?
in Montreal.
But that's not enough.
It is enough, actually.
If you were born and raised in Toronto,
if I disrespected Montreal, that's a different story. But I never disrespected Montreal because they always had great players.
They always won.
Great management, right?
Yeah,
they did. I mean, fans are fans, right? Putting down the city of Toronto I don't take it that personally. The whole city of Toronto. I get that. But the thing is, I respected them because they had great players. And when I did go to Montreal, work there, I got to meet a lot of these guys. Boom Boom Geoffrion, Jean Beliveau, Rocket Richard, Henri Richard, the greats, right? And yeah, I hated these guys as hockey players because I was a Leaf fan.
Right.
But I had a grudging respect, and even more so now.
Well, respect is different.
The other thing, too, is they really aren't a rival like they were when we were kids. That was a different story back then. Now we'd see them. What I did, actually, you know what? The only play-by-play I ever did of an NHL game was Leafs Montreal at the Gardens, and it was the only time they were in the Gardens that year. That was
this is all Ballard's fault.
Once a year, Montreal would come because the Leafs were in the Western Conference.
Because Ballard's fault,
right? And so that was a big deal. Then only once, but you got to go way back, and even before those playoff series in the '70s, to see a real Montreal-Toronto rivalry. Right. And so the hate that I have for Boston, for example, is different. Montreal is a dislike, of course, because they're a rival, but there's a healthy respect there because of the way they played the game. Anyway.
Okay, brother, I'm going to turn off our cameras now. So say goodbye. This was an extended episode in the
Thank you, everybody.
Show, and
have a great one.